Yeah, my name is John Platt, and I've agreed for Shannon and Mike Limberios to do this testing of gunshot residue to prove how ludicrous it is for the police to have said that Jake could have had the gun in his hand or anywhere near him. I already have done preliminary test with a 38 special bullet in this particular 357, showing that it had residue up to 3 feet. The gunshot residue is made up of several things. Lead stiffnate is one of them. There's barium. There's several elements which I'm no chemist, and I'm not going to determine exactly what the residue is, but I'm just going to prove that the existence of residue. Now, in the 38 special, there was residue up to 3 feet. There was a significant amount in the ones I sent you, up to 3 feet, which this is only to show how ridiculous it is, because I'm going to use a 357 Magnum, is what Shannon and Mike claimed that he was using, the actual Magnum bullet, to show that it will far exceed 3 feet. Now, this is a 357 Magnum, very similar to the one I saw of the video of Jake using. Now, this is what they call a double single action. All right, single action is when the trigger is cocked back and you pull the trigger. Double action is when you pull the trigger from the start without cocking it back. So this will work either way, but there's no way, without the trigger being back, there's no way that this particular gun, style gun, will push in the firing pin to detonate the bullet. Now, the bullet has a primer on it, and this particular bullet is the exact same bullet that Mike and Shannon sent me a picture of, 357 Magnum. And I don't know if you can zoom in on the back of that and see that the center piece of that, there's a little round piece in the center. Mm-hmm. That is the primer. That's what the firing pin pierces to make the bullet fire. And after it fires, it looks like that. It has a little indentation in there. So it has to strike that with a firing pin in order to fire. Now, if this particular style gun were to drop, you cannot push this hammer in and make the firing pin exposed. So it wouldn't matter if this thing dropped, it would not go off if you hit the hammer. The only way this would go off is if somebody manually pulled back the hammer. Even if it has a hair trigger or a defective trigger, it still has to be pulled back in order to fire. Now, they make a Western style gun, which the picture I saw of the gun that Mike and Shannon sent me was a double single action like this. Now, if by chance it was a single action like Western style gun, they have a safety on them, but the single action has to be cocked all the time in order to fire. And there is a possibility of pushing without the safety being on. Well, the newer ones having safeties, but if somebody doesn't put the safety on, or if it's an older one that had no safety, it's a possibility that the hammer could be struck and detonate the bullet. But then you're going back to the same thing, that would have to land on the hammer on the hard surface, and it would be in a close proximity to the person that dropped it. So if there's no residue on the victim, then there's no way the victim could have dropped it in his proximity. And that's what I want to prove. It basically is just how far the distance is that this will send residue. And I will send these to Mike and Shannon, and they can have them determine what the residue is. Like I say, I'm not a chemist, and I've been around guns for over 40 years. I've had pistols since I was 21, and I'm 63 now, so I've had experience with them. I know how to safely handle guns. And you might ask, what qualifications do you need to do this test? Well, you need 2 qualifications to do this test. You need to be able to safely handle a gun and shoot a gun, and you need to be able to use a ruler. That's the only qualifications you need to acquire the information I'm going to be sending to you. So that's it until I get to the range and continue this.